Hello and welcome to another edition of Meet the Manager, where we speak to a fancy Premier League manager with a stellar track record. We find out their strategies for success and also how they plan to tackle the rest of the current campaign. Today I'm joined by Kenneth Tang. Kenneth, welcome. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. Pleasure to see you. Someone we've been wanting to get on this series for some time. And the reason is the picture we have on our screen at the moment, which is your career history. So just before we find out how you've achieved that career history, I'll just kind of go through it with people. So what immediately stands out there is the sheer number of top 500 finishes. It's the most I can recall seeing, and that's 9. So you've had 9 top 10,000 finishes. 8 within the top 5,000, I think I've got this right, 4 within the top 500 and 3 within the top 200 as well. You actually got a rank of 158 in your first season, and I've only really had one poor season back in 2011-12, and even then it was just outside the top 100,000. The obvious question is, what have been your key strategies for success over the years?
Yep. I like to plan ahead a lot. Like normally I plan more than 6 game weeks, sometimes up to 10 game weeks of my trades. You can see that I didn't do a lot of hits normally, because I'm quite happy with some of my players that can suffer 1 or 2 bad fixtures and bad performance. And I think I will spend a lot of time before the season start to think about the starting squad. Because I would treat it as an extra wild card, actually.
Yes.
Before several seasons ago, we just have one wild card for the whole season, and so the starting planning is very, very important, very key to carry the success all along. And I think another thing I really like to look at is the values of each player. Just for example, I always do 2 cheap rotatable goalkeepers in my squad. I always find that it's money better spent, because the points that you can get is not that much different from you getting a $6 goalkeeper from a Big 6 team. I can still remember that a few seasons ago is always $6 for each premium a Big 6 goalkeeper. But they down value to 550 now. But it's still, the value is still lying on 2 rotatable GK.
Do you also do that as well, because that means you have 2 goalkeepers that are playing week in, week out, so it gives you more choice, rather than those people, say for example, who might get Matt Ryan, who plays for Brighton, he's 4.5, and his backup, which on the whole usually is Button, who's 4 million, so you save even more money. But do you prefer it to have 2 goalkeepers that playing week in, week out, so you have that choice there?
I will definitely do that, because spending points to transfer a goalkeeper is comparatively not favorable trade. I mean, you can plan that to have 2, and if you have one goalkeeper, let's say a $5.50 or $6 one, that means you still need to spend $4 on a bench folder. And to be honest, like, my strategy is that I would look for having 15 or at least 14 players of my squad that is playable, that could play once a time, like in 3 or 4 game weeks. I like to utilize the whole squad, including the goalkeepers. So the power of 2 cheaper goalkeepers, but you just need them to play half of the fixtures, should be better than you fix 1 goalkeeper all the time. So this is kind of a strategy that you can extract all the money that the game gives us, to provide more value to the whole team.
Okay, and so that going back to that point about fixtures as well, so that seems absolutely key. So you're looking at game week 1, you're going into game week 1 looking at 6 to 8 fixtures immediately, and so you go for that, and then your next wild card could be at any point after that kind of 6 to 8 game week mark, and then you're looking once again ahead at the fixtures, and you're very much looking long term there as well. I mean, that's something that do you get that right? I mean, it looks like you've got that right looking at your career history, but have there been any examples where you've actually started that's actually gone wrong? the fixtures haven't worked out how you anticipated, and you've had a bad start but managed to go up. So have you usually got a good start?
No,
No?
because I usually just got good start in the previous like 3 or 4 seasons after we have 2 wildcards. Because beforehand, just having 1 wildcard, I need to plan a lot longer for the starting squad. And I think it's easier for me to win by that time. And getting 1 more wildcard is actually unfavorable to my playing style, because everyone can overhaul the whole squad if it doesn't go right? Like at game week 3 or 4. And then, yeah, I mean, so I will have less edge in that sense. But I also need to adjust my game. So now I can plan more on just the opening 6 to 8 game weeks. When we have more wildcards now, that is one of the strategy that I try to adjust this season much more. Especially when you look at the fixture of this season, Liverpool and Manchester City have excellent opening 6 fixtures compared to other big 6 teams. And so this strategy could be really applied excellently this season. Like when I talk about fixture, for those big 6 teams, when they have favorable fixture, we should try our best to exploit them. I mean, like when you watch Manchester City against Southampton last night, then you understand why, right? And but for other lesser or moderate team, then we need to be careful, because it doesn't really mean to be that much values. And so, like when we talk about fixture, it still need to depends on the context and what teams involved. And one more thing is that like this season, I will rank the teams myself, maybe based on the statistics or based on my eye test. So among the big 6, it's obviously that Liverpool and Manchester City are ahead the other 4 teams beforehand. And you can say that Arsenal is picking up. Chelsea is performing excellently lately as well. And for the lesser teams, I would say like Cardiff, Huddersfield are really in trouble. Burnley as well. Like I want to talk about like teams like Burnley, because like they are exactly the same team as last season. Like really, and you don't really expect them to do so bad. And I would say that this kind of team has the biggest trouble, because the coach has already done all the things that he can do, and the players are the same, but they don't perform. They keep conceding goals, and this kind of team, I will rate them even lower and worse than we all perceive. It's quite different from like when you see Cardiff, because they will still have energy, they still have passion, and they have nothing to lose, because like there's no benchmark to compare. So I will also looking something like the coach and the team's chemistry to judge that. I would rate down some teams more than some other models and some other experts. So that hopefully this kind of observations can give me some more edge.
Okay. I mean, one thing I mentioned is, well, you're joining me about 10 hours ahead. You're based in Hong Kong as well. So can you just tell me about when and how you watch the games as well, and what the key differences are, watching them at a different time zone, and presumably with kind of different commentary as well?
I would say like, it's good that like I can spend Saturday night and Sunday night to watch a lot of Premier League matches. I usually would watch like at least 2 matches every weekend. Like when you see that I was doing pretty well in previous seasons, and you can spot that I had one of the worst season, right? That I ran 100K that season, because I didn't see any one single match that whole season. And that year, I moved to a place, a house that there's no connection, no TV connection, no TV coverage connection, that I have no chance to see a match, actually. I'm quite busy that season as well. So, and it really affect my performance. So I would say like eye test, maybe even more important for me than some other people. I won't say either is very important, but this is still like a leisure game for me. And if I don't watch the game, maybe I will a bit lose more interest about playing it seriously. Just looking at the names and the numbers, like then I yeah, I mean, then that season I spent less time, to be honest, on that. That's what I can recall, because this season is another good example. Is that I spent a lot of time to plan my team before the season start. But after that, I'm getting so busy of my work, and I also have a newborn child, a newborn boy.
Congratulations!
He's like now just several months old. So yeah, and I can't watch Premier League matches during weekend now. I need to be a babysitter, and yeah, that affect my performance on the fantasy and sidetrack my focus as well. So yeah, I mean, it's not about the time so much, but it's more about the time that I can delegate it in this game.
Yeah.
More time will help me to getting better analysis result to judge what I should do.
Okay, I mean, it's fascinating because the different things that are going on in your life to affect your fantasy rank as well. But another thing that's changed with the game as well, you mentioned going back to the wild cards, we've got more chips as well. When the chips came in, how have you? Because I mean, clearly before the chips, you were pretty regularly in the top 200. So how have you adapted to the chips?
I think like we've talked about the rank beforehand. I still think that it's because the competition getting more keen. There are so many more competitive players, participants, and I think at the beginning it's like about like 2 million participants, and now it's close to 6 million. So yeah, the battlefield is different, and that's why it's easier to get better rank in the earlier seasons that I perceive. So talk about the chips that yeah, I will accumulate all the chips to play around the double game week. To use the wildcard before the double game week and the bonus of the bench and things like that. You need to utilize that. So I always just accumulate all of the free hit and all the, around that time, and that needs a lot of planning ahead. So you need to be very clear which game week you want to wildcard. So you plan everything according to that. But at the same time, you need to have some flexibility to change around, such that you won't to be that rigid, because some weird things could happen all along. So and that's why another key strategy of mine is I really want most of my 15 squad players playing. I don't like those players that never play or just play 1 or 2 minutes of a game, which will make me a lot more flexible of different strategies that I want to apply along the season.
Okay, well that's a fitting time to have a look at your current game week squad. Well, this is actually going into game week 11, and like many who didn't have a number of Man City assets, obviously it hasn't been. We've timed it quite poorly for you. We've got one of your worst games, but nevertheless, you still have your wild card in place. So I just wanted to, before we talk about your impending wild card, I just wanted some notes of interest. So you've got your 2 goalkeepers there; they both play. You mentioned about Hart and Burnley. It's terrible form. So is Ryan your kind of key man really there, and Hart's more backup?
Yeah, if talk about the goalkeeper, when you look back the fixture, actually Brighton has quite terrible fixture at the beginning. So, but they have really excellent fixtures, like starting from game week 8, I think. So I need one goalkeeper have excellent fixture in the beginning 7 game weeks, and that's why I picked Joe Hart and Matt Ryan at the beginning. And this is a pair that is very rare to be found elsewhere, when many people jump on like Fabianski and some others. But when you look at West Ham, the fixture is really terrible, even much more terrible than Matt Ryan at the beginning. And I also have a thought in mind that I may trigger my wild card after game week 6. So I didn't actually need Fabianski at the beginning. It's no use, right? So and that's why it forms my goalkeeper pairing. But if you look back to the fixture of these 2 goalkeepers, there will be just one game week that they both play against the big 6. And the other 19 games they're playing average or bottom table teams. And yeah, so why I had them at the very beginning. And yeah, and this decision is also combined with the fact that Joe Hart may also lose his starting spot, right? We don't know Tom Heaton about Nick Pope, but I just need him for 6, so I can have him. For Burnley, goalkeeper at 4.5 is super value if you take into account their last season performance. And they get back to the season for their Europa, and so they should have a better warm-up, and they are getting fitter than other teams. Their whole backline doesn't need to go to World Cup. And yeah, I mean, like, there's everything that pointing me to choose Hart and Ryan. Yeah, it makes so much sense at that time, but of course now, Burnley is totally rotten, right? But for me, it's still good because I don't need them anymore. So, but at least if Ryan has any problem, I can still play Joe Hart. So, yeah, that is one of the things that, it's good to share.
Okay. I mean, looking at going across your defence now, you've got 3 heavy hitters there. So you've got a lot of money there with Alonso, Robertson and Trippier as well. But you've also got Balbuena and Wan-Bissaka. So you've got the cheap 2 options there. Is that a setup that you like to have? So you've got 3 really, really good defenders you can play every week, and then you can mix up the other 2.
For me, actually, the formation is not really in my mind, like 3-5-2 or 4-3-3. I never think of this. I would just consider where the values falls. So yeah, I just mean that like 2 weeks ago, I actually have Aguero. I also have Richarlison. Like they excel this game week, but I actually have them 2 weeks ago. So and by that time, I still have 3 heavy hitters defenders. Yeah, I newly acquired Hazard 2 game weeks ago when he's not injured yet. 3 game weeks ago. Sorry for that. And so things like that. So yeah, I think I'm really flexible on different times, and I always just look at the values rather than my so-called preferred formation, and whether it's flexible to strip around this player to that, because you just need 2 trades to swap between like a premium midfielder and a premium defender. So it's not really that a heck of work. And so I think the key thing is still that you need most of your players that are playable, and that will make you a lot more flexible.
Okay, and moving on to midfield, this is particularly interesting. You've got no Man City at all, but you've gone heavy on Liverpool as well. So you've got Mane and Salah. So game week 10, that was brilliant for you. Game week 11, not so good. Game week 12, fingers crossed, is going to be brilliant for you again, because Liverpool have that favourable fixture. Man City don't. What's your thinking there short term? You're going to stick with Hazard, Mane or Salah, or are you tempted by Sterling or a move to get Aguero?
For the upcoming game week is a definite no for me.
Yeah, I meant for the next 2 or 3.
I mean, yeah. I mean, because I think about this before the game week 10 actually. I really want Salah for the game against Cardiff and Fulham. They are so juicy, and it's also good fixtures playing against Wolves and Everton after the Fulham game. So this is a period that is great strategy to triple up on Liverpool. And you know, this is a period that we will mix up with those Champions League game, but these 3 are a lot more secure starters than Manchester City assets, and so I think it's still good to have them for this period, and that's my strategy. But like I said, I really did a big mistake when I choose to take away Aguero and Richarlison to get in Salah and Arnautovic, rather than take away Hazard to get in Salah and Arnautovic. And if I take away Hazard, I don't need to sell Aguero. But yeah, if I read more on the news about Hazard's injury, things like that, I'll definitely take him out. But yeah, it's about like, if I don't have enough time, that it means I don't have enough information, and then I make a wrong decision. But I still think that it makes so much sense to triple up on Liverpool before last game week against Cardiff. Cardiff is a team that I think we really need 3 Liverpool to start with.
Okay.
If we don't do that, you do that after the game against Arsenal, then it doesn't really exploit most of the values.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, with Hazard and Iheanacho there, you can make that move to get Aguero and then a cheaper midfielder. So once it goes back to something I quite like to do as well, making sure you can do pretty much any move within 2 moves. And if it starts taking 3 moves, then it gets a bit tricky. Iheanacho, why have you got Iheanacho? I just have to ask, because I never see him in any teams.
Who? Sorry, Iheanacho?
Yeah, Iheanacho.
Because I just think that he would start for Leicester game a lot, based on his history, and then the upcoming fixture is really, really juicy for Leicester. Like what I said, I rate fixture maybe more important than some others. And like Jamie Vardy is too expensive to have, and Maddison is also too expensive for me. Like if I want Maddison, I would rather have Richarlison when Richarlison is a bit cheaper and a lot more attractive. So Maddison is too expensive for $7 for me. Then I don't have much choice, but like Iheanacho is like 5.9, and you can swallow that cost if he just like plays for 65 minutes a match and give you 1 or 2 goals and assists, things like that. So I think it's still good to have him by the time when I make the decision. When I need him to play a lot, actually, because you can see my squad has some problem now. I have Wan-Bissaka. Like since last game week, there are 4 consecutive bad game weeks that you really don't want to play him. I have Schneiderlin that he starts at the season beginning, and then he loses sport, and I don't have any free trades to trade him. So there are 2 players that I can't play, or I'm unable to play. So I need somebody to play for a lot of game weeks in the coming game weeks when I decide to have my wildcard executed at game week 16. So I look at the fixtures and I identify him to be one of the players that I can have, that I think is better than having like success. I said success from Watford because he may lose his spot. It's better than I getting Barkley, because Barkley can also lose his spot, things like that. So, and that's how I decided to bring him in. But the sad news of Leicester chairman, it's really sad. I feel so sorry to hear that. But the implication to the game is that the coach need to play the players that serve longer at the club. So Iheanacho just lose his spot by this incident, but I trade him in before that incident. So this is something that you can't really imagine.
I took that as well, and also you don't know the mental state of them all as well, and it may have been that particularly affected him in a way that he couldn't play. But I see what you mean. The Iheanacho I think is should be a regular starter, and it's interesting as well because you're using a cheaper spot for a differential really, and he's a player with good fixtures that could do well. And I also see what you mean with Vardy as well. Vardy also, his performance is also much worse than last season because he's getting older as well. That pace goes slightly, whereas Iheanacho's the young person there. What I find interesting, you've still got your wild card left. Before we came on air, I asked when you were going to wild card, and I assumed you'd say maybe in next week or maybe 4 weeks time, and you just came straight out with a game week. So what's that game week, and why that game week?
Because when I look at all the fixtures that I could have pretty good captains all along to game week 15. And game week 16 is the time that the fixture of Liverpool getting so terrible.
Right.
At that time, and if you look at that, they play most of the Big Six team. They also need to play against Wolves, I think, away, and then just home game against Newcastle is the only game good at game week 19. But Benitez is a wonderful coach that he will defend tough at the back. It's totally different from Mark Hughes, what he did last night. That they even press Manchester City when, some of them doesn't really press a lot in their games, right? From my perception, but they decide to press ahead and highlight the it's so weird, but that's what it is, right? So I mean, when I look at Liverpool from game week 16, I like now my plan is I will take away all my 3 Liverpool players from my squad. So I will get, but on the other hand, why I choose Game Week 16 is the fixture of Arsenal, Tottenham are excellent. Also Manchester United and Chelsea, and Manchester City is pretty okay as well. So you have plenty of choices of assets from those big 6 teams. That is juicy. That is so wonderful. And that's the point that I think I should pull the trigger. I mean, the point is that if Liverpool getting worse fixtures, but the other big 6 team doesn't get good fixture, it doesn't really valuable to have to play the wild card there. But what I see is the other big 6 team have wonderful fixtures, and so I think the value lies on there. And by that time, many people will still have a lot of Liverpool and Manchester City assets, but all of a sudden I will have like maybe 2 from Arsenal, 2 from Tottenham, or even 3 if Rob Holdings still play a lot by that time. So I'm trying to figure out like a team with like Bellerin, Lacazette, Harry Kane if he pick up his boots again. Otherwise, maybe I will have Eriksen and Ali. Players like that. So you see, I have Trippier in my teams now, but I may not get him in my wild card if I think Aurier will eat up some of his playing time. So we'll see. But there's because 5 of the other teams have a big 6 team have good fixtures, so I will have plenty of choices. Yeah, and the last point about that,
No, you carry on. Yeah.
Oh yeah, just the last point is that is the Christmas festive coming up. So you really need 15 playing squad. Yeah, and such wildcard will give me that advantage.
That's fascinating because most of the managers I've spoken to have used on this series have used their wildcard already. I know I've used mine, and I am quite envious the way you talk as well, because you're being very patient so we're only at the game week 11 mark. So you're willing to go for another 3 or 4 fixtures, and because you're focusing on Liverpool, and then you can make that switch, and other players can't do that. So all being well with the plan, from game week 16, you're going to be like a rocket going up the overall rankings as well, and you'll be sorted for Christmas as well. I mean, just before we go, is there any final thoughts about how this season's going, whether there's any particular trends that you've spotted? Sometimes people say, oh, there's lots of value in wing backs or something, but for you, are there any particular trends that have started to emerge a bit?
I think the first of all, I want to talk about the wildcard. I plan to play my wildcard before game week 7, but I changed my plan, and I actually can also play my wildcard at game week 10. But Mane just getting back from injury, things like that, so I changed my plan as well. So
game week 16 is your wildcard week now.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it could be. I always make mistake in the fantasy, so I'm actually very happy to have a pretty good history, because if I look back on what I did, I can pick out a lot of mistakes along, and I'll just say that I'm trying my best to see what I can do better than other managers. On one thing is you won't make decision because let's say when you see my team, I don't have any Manchester City players. The rank will be very bad this game week, but I feel really, really okay. I feel really fine with that, because that is the game, and that is part of my strategy, that when I need 3 Liverpool players last game week, I need to get rid of Hazard or Aguero, then I need to make a choice. So I'm not saying I didn't make mistake, but I will live with the choice. So what's going on is that from that point, you just need to step by step to doing good again. Because when you ask whether I'm doing good previously, at the very beginning of the season, I usually did quite bad at the very beginning. There is a season that I think I'm ranking at 1.5 million at game week 10, but at last I'm in top 1,000 after for the whole season. So I really like to have the patience to go ahead, to go on. And if talking about this season, is that I really see the supremacy of several teams like Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Arsenal. They're playing so well. They're really superior than most other teams. And there are a few teams that's really terrible. Beforehand, maybe just one or two, but this season you can see 4, or even like adding Southampton if you want. Like there are 4 to 5 teams really struggle. They keep conceding so many goals against these big teams. That so I would say that we will see even more like bigger scoreline differences. More like how Barcelona and Real Madrid playing against the weaker teams in Spain, like always big scoreline. We will see more this season, and that's why maybe to make some more points hits among those elite players could pay off this season. This is one of my gut feeling and so far. So again, to have a team that maybe I would choose those players that is costing a little bit cheaper but scoring a little bit less in my squad. So I have flexibility to shipping around the big guns. So maybe going ahead, I may downsize the amount of premium defenders because you will find some really great value in the teams like Wolves, Watford, or West Ham who is actually improving their defense lately. Yeah, it's bad that I didn't even own any Wolves players at the moment, but I actually want 2 at least from them. But maybe I'm too patient to load them up. I will start to load them up since starting from game week 13. But that is a team that have a really big jewels inside.
Okay, well, I mean, whatever you've been doing over the seasons, it's clearly worked, and it's fascinating that you've had this strategy that you've broadly stuck to, and this season it's even more so with that targeting of fixtures with a focus on those top 6 sides, because as you said, this season we've got far more teams that are ready to be quite soundly beaten by them. But for now, Kenneth, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck with the rest of the campaign.
Yeah, you too, Joe.